Ninja Assassins from 1988 is my VHS watch of the week, and will you look at this thing? The cover and the provenance of this particular copy of this particular VHS is the highlight of this review because the movie was not very good, but doesn't this just scream 1980s video store visit looking for cool movies? It's got the martial arts sticker. We got the neon video logos. We got an old 99-cent special rental. And then there's a more modern, I think this was from the reseller, the price tag that says $8. I couldn't pass this up on Whatnot. Best dollar I ever spent or whatever. However, like I said, the movie is not that good. It suffers from the same issue as a lot of Hong Kong movies that I've seen do, which is that it's kind of a hodgepodge of different ideas, and this one may even be recut from other movies. I'm not sure of the history, and I don't really care that much. The movie's about a CIA agent who's trying to find secret plans that were stolen from another agent. So it's Cold War CIA versus KGB, and there are a gang of ninjas that the KGB hired to steal these plans. So our hero has to get trained by a ninja trainer to learn the mystic powers that make you disappear and move in ways that are not humanly possible. And there are definitely some cool parts. You're always going to see some cool fights in any Hong Kong movie. There's also one scene that has gratuitous female nudity and a completely unnecessary sex scene. But all in all, this was just kind of boring to get through. And this tape is shot. I thought my VCR is going to beg me for forgiveness after this one, and I had to clean it out. The tape is not moldy, it just, the tracking looked like shit for the whole movie, so that's unfortunate. Like I said, I'm going to keep it in the collection just because of how it looks on the shelf, but if you see Ninja Assassins or Bionic Ninja, I think it's also called, I would avoid it. It's not worth checking out. Hallow Road from 2025 is a mostly one-location thriller starring Matthew Rhys and Rosamund Pike. I've been watching the TV show The Americans, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So when I saw that Matthew Rhys was in this movie, and I've never seen him in anything until I started watching The Americans, I was looking forward to seeing him in something else besides that character. This movie really divides people. Some people say it's DOA, not thrilling at all, very boring. And part of that is because it takes place mostly in a car. The plot revolves around our main characters who get a phone call from their daughter that she's been in an accident and they need to get to her, and they're on the phone with her while they're in the car. I found this to be pretty engaging, but I do understand that it relies completely on the performances and the script. So if you're not bought in, you're not going to be into it. Another thing that took this movie to a different level for me is that this is one of those not everything is as it seems type of movies, and it even treads into some Irish folklore stuff that I didn't even realize was going on until after I watched the movie and did some research on it. This really made me want to watch the movie again. I knew there was some weird stuff going on, but there's some specific connection to things that I'm not familiar with. Now, this movie I don't think knocks any of these elements out of the park, but as a complete package with some stuff that you can chew on after you watch the movie, and some great performances from the leads, and a voice performance by the daughter, I found this one to be worth the very short runtime. The Innkeepers is a 2011 horror film directed by Ty West, and this was a blind spot in my Ty West fandom because I'm a huge fan of most of his movies. He's a little hit or miss. For example, I really hated Maxine despite Pearl being one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm also a fan of X, though not as much as Pearl. I really enjoyed The Sacrament. I enjoyed The House of the Devil. So I knew I needed to see The Innkeepers sooner or later, and a lot of YouTubers talk about this movie, so I figured I was in good hands. The movie is about two people working at an inn, played by Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy, who are managing the inn on its last weekend in business. So it's very empty, and the stage is set for some haunted inn haunted house stuff. There are very few guests, and the ones that are there are obviously quite noteworthy. And what's cool about the plot is that our two main characters are kind of into the fact that this place might be haunted. So they have amateur recording equipment, and the guy runs a crappy little website about what's going on in the inn. And I thought this story had a lot of potential. But unfortunately, as I was watching the movie and getting into it, it felt like it was just really dragging. And I didn't really get into the slow burn aspect of this movie. The thing with slow burns is they have to burn, and they have to burn towards something. And the slow part has to be engaging in its own way. With this movie, I felt like every shot, every scene, every sequence was just stretched out so long, and there was no balance between taking its time and getting to the point. In other words, I feel like this film didn't earn the right to be a slow burn. I actually feel like if it was edited way tighter, if it was about 80 minutes long, it could have been a much cooler movie. And it's a shame too, because I thought our main characters are both very likable. I'm a fan of Pat Healy especially, and he adds a lot of personality to the movie, but it just can't rescue it from what I found to be an excruciating pace. But perhaps don't take my word for it. A lot of people recommend this movie, but for me, most of the elements of this movie didn't work. One thing I did like, it's scored like a Disney movie. It has this kind of PG-13 whimsy to it in the beginning of the film, and they do try to take a turn towards more dark material, but it just doesn't pay off towards the end. I still consider myself a fan of Ty West, but I have to accept the fact that I think some of the magic of Pearl is due to Mia Goth's contribution to the script and to the character. Plus, as far as Ty West's filmography, this is one of his earlier works. So it is what it is. If you like what is considered by some to be a slow burn haunted house kind of situation, you may enjoy The Innkeepers. And that's going to do it for this video. If you like these short movie reviews, I have a whole playlist of them on my channel. Thank you very much for watching to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.